2 Chronicles 16. In the 36th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, the sovereign of Israel, came up against Yehuda and built Ramah to prevent anyone going out or coming in to Asa, sovereign of Yehuda. And Asa brought silver and gold from the treasuries of the house of Yahweh and of the sovereign's house, and sent to Ben-Hadad, sovereign of Aram, who dwelt in Dar-Mesech, saying, Let there be a covenant between you and me, as there has been, or as there was between my father and your father. See, I have sent you silver and gold. Come, break your covenant with Baasha, sovereign of Israel, so that he withdraws from me. And Ben-Hadad listened to sovereign Asa, and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Israel. And they struck Eon, and Dan, and Abel, Maim, and all the storage cities of Naphtali. And it came to be, when Baasha heard it, that he stopped building Ramah, and ceased his work. Then Asa, the sovereign, brought all Yehuda, and they took away the stones and timber of Ramah, which Baasha had used for building, and with them he built Geba and Mizpah. And at that time Hanani the seer came to Asa, sovereign of Yehuda, and said to him, Because you have relied on the sovereign of Aram, and have not relied on Yahweh your Elohim, therefore the army of the sovereign of Aram has escaped from your hand. Were the Cushites and the Lubim not a mighty army, with very many chariots and horsemen? And because you relied on Yahweh, he gave them into your hand. For the eyes of Yahweh diligently search throughout all the earth, to show himself to be strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect to him. You have acted foolishly in this. So from now on you shall have battles. And Asa was wroth with the seer, and put him in prison, for he was enraged at him because of this. And Asa oppressed some of the people at that time. And look, the acts of Asa, the first and the last, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yehuda and Israel. And in the 39th year of his reign, Asa became diseased in his feet, and his disease was severe. Yet even in his disease he did not seek Yahweh, but the physicians. So Asa slept with his fathers, and died in the 41st year of his reign. And they buried him in his burial site, which he had made for himself in the city of David. And they laid him in the bed, which was filled with spices and various kinds of ointments, mixed by the perfumer's skill. And they made a very great burning for him. Chapter 17. And Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his place, and strengthened himself against Israel, and placed an army in all the walled cities of Yehuda, and set watchposts in the land of Yehuda and in the cities of Ephraim, which Asa his father had taken. And Yahweh was with Jehoshaphat, for he walked in the former ways of his father David, and did not seek the Baals, but sought the Elohim of his father, and walked in his commands, and not according to the deeds of Israel. So Yahweh established the reign in his hand, and all Yehuda gave presents to Jehoshaphat, and he had great riches and esteem, and his heart was exalted in the ways of Yahweh, and he again removed the high places and the Asherim from Yehuda. And in the 3rd year of his reign he sent his leaders, Ben-Hail and Obadiah, and Zechariah, and Nethanel, and Mikiyahu, to teach in the cities of Yehuda. And with them he sent Levites, Shemiyahu, Nethanyahu, and Zebediyahu, and Asahel, and Shiramoth, and Yehonathan, and Adoniyahu, and Tobiyahu, and Tob-Adoniah, the Levites, and with them Elishama and Jeroam, the priests. And they taught in Yehuda, and with them was the book of the Torah of Yahweh, and they went around into the cities of Yehuda and taught the people. And the fear of Yahweh fell on all the reigns of the lands that were around Yehuda, and they did not fight against Jehoshaphat. And some of the Philistines brought Jehoshaphat gifts and a load of silver, and the Arabians brought him flocks, 7,700 rams, and 7,700 male goats. And Jehoshaphat became increasingly great, and he built palaces and storage cities in Yehuda. And he had much work in the cities of Yehuda, and the men of battle, mighty brave men, were in Jerusalem. And these were the numbers according to their father's house. Of Yehuda, the commanders of thousands, Adonai, the commander, and with him 300,000 mighty brave men. And next to him was Yehohanan, the commander, and with him 280,000. And next to him was Amasiah, son of Zikri, who volunteered himself to Yahweh, and with him 200,000 mighty brave men. And in Benjamin, Eliada, a mighty brave one, and with him 200,000 men armed with bow and shield. And next to him was Jehozabad, and with him 180,000 prepared for battle. And these were the ones serving the sovereign, besides those whom the sovereign put in the walled cities throughout all Yehuda. 18. And Jehoshaphat had great riches and esteem, and allied himself with Ahab by marriage. And some years later he went down to visit Ahab in Shomeron. And Ahab slaughtered many sheep and cattle for him, and the people with him, and incited him to go up with him to Ramoth Gilead. And Ahab, sovereign of Israel, said to Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehuda, do you go with me against Ramoth Gilead? And he answered him, I am as you are, and my people are as your people, even with you in battle. And Jehoshaphat said to the sovereign of Israel, please inquire of the word of Yahweh today. And the sovereign of Israel gathered the prophets together, 400 men, and said to them, do we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or do I refrain? And they said, go up, for Elohim does give it into the sovereign's hand. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not still a prophet of Yahweh here, so that we inquire of him? And the sovereign of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, there is still one man to inquire of Yahweh from him. But I hate him, because he never prophesies good concerning me, but always evil. He is Mikiyahu, the son of Yamal. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the sovereign say so. So the sovereign of Israel called one of his officers, said, bring Mikiyahu, son of Yamal, at once. And the sovereign of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the sovereign of Yehuda, dressed in their robes, sat each on his throne, and they sat at a threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Shomeron, and all the prophets were prophesying before them. And Sidkiyahu, son of Kenanah, had made horns of iron for himself, and said, thus said Yahweh, with these you push the Armenians until they are destroyed. And all the prophets were prophesying so, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead, and prosper, and Yahweh shall give it into the hand of the sovereign. And the messenger who had gone to call Mikiyahu spoke to him, saying, see, the words of the prophets with one mouth are good towards the sovereign, so please let your word be like the word of one of them, and you shall speak good. And Mikiyahu said, as Yahweh lives, whatever my Elohim says, that I speak. And he came to the sovereign, and the sovereign said to him, Micah, do we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or do I refrain? And he said, go and prosper, and they are given into your hand. And the sovereign said to him, how many times have I made you swear that you do not speak to me except the truth in the name of Yahweh? So he said, I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And Yahweh said, these have no master. Let each return to his house in peace. And the sovereign of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, did I not say to you that he would not prophesy good coming concerning me, but evil? Then he said, therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of the heavens standing on his right and on his left. And Yahweh said, who shall entice Ahab, sovereign of Israel, to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And the one said this, and the other said that. And the spirit came forward and stood before Yahweh and said, let me entice him. Yahweh said to him, in what way? And he said, I shall go out and be a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, entice him, and also prevail, go out and do so. And now see, Yahweh has put a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of these prophets of yours, and Yahweh has spoken evil concerning you. And Siddiqyahu, son of Kenanah, came near and struck Mikyahu on the cheek and said, which way did the spirit of Yahweh pass over from me to speak to you? And Mikyahu said, look, you shall see on that day when you go into an inner room to hide. Then the sovereign of Israel said, take Mikyahu and return him to Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the sovereign's son, and say, thus said the sovereign, put this one in prison and feed him with bread of affliction and water of affliction until I return in peace. And Mikyahu said, if you return at all in peace, Yahweh has not spoken to me. And he said, hear, all you people. Then the sovereign of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Yehuda, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the sovereign of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, let me disguise myself and go into battle, but you put on your robes. And the sovereign of Israel disguised himself, and they went into battle. And the sovereign of Aram had commanded the commanders of the chariots who were with him, saying, fight with no one, small or great, but only with the sovereign of Israel. And it came to be, when the commanders of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, it is the sovereign of Israel. So they turned around to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out and said, and Yahweh helped him, and Elohim moved them to turn away from him. And it came to be, when the commanders of the chariots saw that it was not the sovereign of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a man drew a bow in it his simplicity, and struck the sovereign of Israel between the joints of his armor. And he said to the driver of his chariot, turn around and take me out of the battle, for I am wounded. But the battle increased that day, and the sovereign of Israel was propped up in his chariot, facing the Arameans until evening, and he died at the time of the going down of the sun. Chapter 19. And Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Yehuda, returned to his house in peace in Jerusalem. And Jehu, son of Hanani, the seer, went out to face him and said to sovereign Jehoshaphat, do you help the wrong and love those who hate Yahweh? Therefore the wrath of Yahweh is upon you. But good matters are found in you, in that you have removed the Ashtaroth from the land, and have prepared your heart to seek Elohim. So Jehoshaphat dwelt in Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back to Yahweh, Elohim of their fathers. And he appointed judges in the land in all the walled cities of Yehuda, city by city, and said to the judges, watch what you are doing, for you do not judge for man, but for Yahweh, who is with you in the matter of right ruling. And now let the fear of Yahweh be upon you. Guard and do it, for there is no unrighteousness with Yahweh our Elohim, nor partiality, nor taking of bribes. And in Jerusalem, Jehoshaphat also appointed some of the Levites and priests and some of the chief fathers of Israel for the right ruling of Yahweh and for dispute. Then they returned to Jerusalem, and he commanded them, saying, do this in the fear of Yahweh, trustworthily and with a perfect heart. When my dispute comes to you from your brothers who dwell in their cities between blood and blood, between Torah and command, laws and right rulings, then you shall warn them, lest they trespass against Yahweh, and wrath come upon you and your brothers. Do this, and you shall not be guilty. And look, Amaryahu, the chief priest, is over you in all the matters of Yahweh, and Zebediah, son of Yishmael, the ruler of the house of Yehuda, for all the matters of the sovereign, and the Levites are officials before you. Be strong and do, and Yahweh is with the good. Chapter 20. And after this, it came to be that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon came in, and with them some of the peoples against Jehoshaphat to battle. And they came and spoke to Jehoshaphat, saying, a great army is coming against you from beyond the sea, from Aram. And see, they are in Hatzatzon Tamar, which is in En-gedi. And Jehoshaphat was afraid, and set his face to seek Yahweh, and proclaimed a fast throughout all Yehuda. And Yehuda gathered to inquire of Yahweh, even from all the cities of Yehuda they came to seek Yahweh. And Jehoshaphat stood in the assembly of Yehuda and Jerusalem in the house of Yahweh in front of the new courtyard, and said, O Yahweh Elohim of our fathers, are you not Elohim in the heavens? And do you not rule over all the reigns of the nations? And in your hand is there not power and might, so that no one is able to stand against you? Are you not our Elohim? You have driven out the inhabitants of this land before your people, Israel, and gave it to the seed of Abraham, who loves you forever. And they dwell in it, and have built you a set-apart place in it for your name, saying, if evil does come upon us, such as the sword, judgment, or pestilence, or scarcity of food, we shall stand before this house and in your presence, for your name is in this house, and cry out to you in our distress, and you do hear and save. And now see the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Mizraim, for they turned from them and did not destroy them. And see, they are repaying us by coming to drive us out of your possession, which you have given to us to inherit. O our Elohim, would you not judge them? For we are powerless against this great army that is coming against us, and we do not know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. And all Yehuda with their little ones, their wives, and their children stood before Yahweh. And the Spirit of Yahweh came upon Yaziel, son of Zachariah, son of Benaiah, son of Yael, son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Asaph, in the midst of the assembly. And he said, listen, all Yehuda, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem, and sovereign Jehoshaphat. Thus said Yahweh to you, do not fear, nor be afraid of the face of this great army, for the battle is not yours, but Elohim's. Go down against them tomorrow. See, they are coming up by the ascent of Sitz, and you shall find them at the end of the wadi before the wilderness of Yeruel. It is not for you to fight in this position yourselves. Stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh with you, O Yehuda and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid nor fear. Go out against them tomorrow, for Yahweh is with you. And Jehoshaphat bowed his head with face to the ground, and all Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell down before Yahweh to bow themselves before Yahweh. And the Levites of the children of the Kehathites and of the children of the Korites stood up to praise Yahweh Elohim of Israel with exceedingly loud voice. And they rose early in the morning and went into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went out, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Yehuda, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in Yahweh your Elohim, and be steadfast. Trust his prophets and prosper. And after consulting with the people, he appointed those who should sing to Yahweh, and who should praise the splendor of set-apartness, as they went out before the army, and were saying, give thanks to Yahweh, for his loving commitment is everlasting. And when they began singing and praising, Yahweh set ambushes against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come against Yehuda, and they were smitten. Then the children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir to destroy and annihilate them. And when they had made an end of the inhabitants of Seir, they helped to destroy one another. And when Yehuda came at the lookout in the wilderness, they looked toward the army and saw their dead bodies lying on the ground, and none had escaped. And Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away their spoil, and they found among them a great amount of valuables on the dead bodies, and precious jewelry which they stripped off for themselves, more than they could take away. And they were 3 days plundering the spoil, for it was much. And on the 4th day they assembled in the valley of Berakah, for there they blessed Yahweh. Therefore the name of that place was called the Valley of Berakah to this day. Then they returned, every man to Yehuda and Jerusalem, with Jehoshaphat in front of them, to go back to Jerusalem with joy, for Yahweh had made them rejoice over their enemies. And they came to Jerusalem with harps and lyres and trumpets to the house of Yahweh. And the fear of Elohim was on all the reigns of the land, when they heard that Yahweh had fought against the enemies of Israel. Then the reign of Jehoshaphat was at peace, for his Elohim gave him rest on all sides. Thus Jehoshaphat reigned over Yehuda 35 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in the way of his father Asa, and did not turn aside from it, doing what was right in the eyes of Yahweh. Only the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their hearts for the Elohim of their fathers. And the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, the first and the last, see, they are written in the book of Jehu, son of Hanani, which is mentioned in the book of the sovereigns of Israel. And after this, Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, joined himself with Ahaziah, sovereign of Israel. He did wrong in doing so, and he joined himself with him to make ships to go to Tarshish. And they made the ships in Etzion Geber. Then Eleazar, son of Dodavahu of Marishah, prophesied against Jehoshaphat, saying, because you have joined yourself with Ahaziah, Yahweh shall break up your work. And the ships were wrecked, so that they were unable to go to Tarshish. Shalom.